White flag. 1 lap to go until we see the Advanced Auto Parts checkered flag, and Carl Kirkwood leads the way. The man who, other than Alex Palou, is the only driver to have won races this season.
Here comes Rasmussen. Here he comes.
Street tracks as Rasmussen does take a look at Award, but Award gets to the inside of Kiffin Simpson. It will be Kyle Kirkwood, who has only ever won on the streets. No more. He is an oval winner. Kyle Kirkwood wins again. A phenomenal drive.
This is Racelet's IndyCar Podcast. Here are your hosts, Fred and Sydney.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Fred.
I'm Sydney.
And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Racelet's IndyCar Podcast. Right there, you just had the final play-by-play call of last weekend's Bommarito 500 at Worldwide Technology Raceway, where Kyle Kirkwood has now won back-to-back races, 3 races on the season, and has now accomplished his first oval victory of his career. What a crazy weekend it was, Sydney.
Well, yeah, and I don't even think crazy is the right word to describe how intense and incredible this weekend was. And it could even be one of the most exciting races of the year so far.
I think this was definitely the most exciting weekend that we have seen all season so far in the series. Detroit brought all the drama, the most unpredictable as far as races go, but I think St. Louis topped that. Now, St. Louis at Gateway has always been basically owned by Team Penske over the last decade, right?
Yeah.
You know, Will Powers had 4
5.
poles there.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, he did get his 5th, but they've been dominant there. He's won multiple times. Joseph Newgarden has won
5 times.
5 out of the last 9 years there as well. And then Scott McLaughlin had been the previous pole sitter the last 2 seasons. So going into this race, all
High
expectations were
Yeah.
Team Penske. And as we said on our last episode, I think this was the weekend that Penske was going to come out on top. And
We were
as far
wrong.
as, well, no, not at, well, with the race result, yes, but how qualifying
yeah.
ended up, it's exactly what we had thought was going to
What we'd
happen,
hoped for.
right? So,
Yeah.
how did qualifying shake down, Sid?
Yeah, so qualifying, hold on, let me pull it up.
Mhm.
So you have Will Power again, so this will be his 5th pole there, at Gateway, and then starting alongside Scott McLaughlin. So Penske front row lockout, and then Joseph Newgarden starting in 5th. So I think this is the highest they finished started all season.
Yes, you had all 3 Penske cars within the first 2 or 3 rows
Yeah.
this season, and Power had been dominant there before with all of the poles he's won, and Scott McLaughlin over the last 2 years, like we said, and then Joseph's history of winning. It was a slam dunk, I thought, for Penske.
Yeah.
But that all changed come Sunday during race day, and this is where all the insanity began, Sid. I mean,
Yeah.
starting as early as lap 4.
Yeah, so in lap 4, we get our first caution of 4 cautions of the race, I think. And it was from Devlin DiFrancesco. He had contact with turn 1. He hit the wall, and that kind of just shows how crappy of a driver he is.
I know you've had a taking of not liking to him, and I agree. I don't think he's
Yeah.
a very good driver as well. We've seen instances all season. I mean, he had the promising Indy GP qualifying and race for the majority of that.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I think Devlin is it's his second time around in the series now, and he's going to have those mistakes. He's not a rookie,
Yeah, he's not.
but it just seems like everybody on that RL team just isn't up
Yeah.
to par. So that was the first caution. That was from laps 4 to 9.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is where your pole sitter and I think he was running maybe second or third at the time. He may have been further back. As David Malukas was the one who jumped
Who's
out
leading
to
the
the
race?
lead
Yeah.
for the majority of the start of the race. But it was the 12 car of Will Power. He made contact with the wall at lap 47.
Yeah, in
Uh,
turn 4.
so, how exactly did he crash? I wasn't home at the time to see the race. I think
I think he just
listening on the radio, he may have had,
got too high, I think, and just hit
yeah,
it.
marbles starting
Yeah.
up top. I know he had issues with his tire pressure, I think it was, over the weekend. I don't know if that had any, contributed to
Yeah.
it at all. But wow, one of the favorites, the pole sitter, who had an extremely fast car and
Yeah.
was in a position to
He
win a
definitely
race
earned
again.
this spot. Yeah.
Will Power, another DNF.
DNF.
Now, so much we can go in and talk about Will. This is a contract year for Will.
Yeah.
This is maybe his worst season we have seen, yet he is still sitting in the top 10 of the points in the
Yeah.
standings.
I think
he's top 7 or something
7. Yeah,
like that.
he's 7.
So, I mean, he's not doing terrible. He's just had, I think,
He just
extremely bad
and
luck.
there's this. Someone said this. I saw it, and it was like if Penske didn't have bad luck, they would have no luck at all.
Yeah, I think
Like,
that's something like Townsend Bell says
yeah.
or something like that. A horrible, he had so exciting to finally win a pole again and
Be up
to
there.
go out that early when points are on the line and at a premium right now.
It's hard.
That's extremely gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
And at the same time that's happening, the guy that Penske has next in line, and David Malukas,
Yeah.
is
Leading the race.
leading the race and having a pretty successful season
Yeah.
so far. He is really showing some promise. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm just thinking out the box. Like, everything is going against Will at this time, and I
Yeah.
don't think we're gonna see him back at Penske. I don't think he's done driving, but
Yeah.
I think his days are starting to become numbered with Penske. And that's sad because I'm a huge Will Power fan.
Mhm.
I loved him from the very beginning. I was at the race in Vegas when he won his first race, um, many, many years ago. And I've always loved Will, his spirit, his fireness. You know, we hope good things are coming to you, Will. Road America is coming up. You've done good there in the
Mhm.
past. We hope that continues as well. So then, Sydney, what was the next biggest thing
Yeah.
that
So the
happened?
next caution was like the biggest one of the race. It was so scary. Louis Foster. I think he got high and like spun out, and then he hit
Yeah, so
Joseph Newgarden.
right, Foster had gotten loose again in those marbles up top. He hits the wall. Meanwhile, the fastest car on track and
Mhm.
surging through the field, he was eventually going to end up, you know, taking over the lead. Was Joseph Newgarden, and he had no time to react. Basically,
Yeah.
as Louis Foster hit the wall up top, sends his car careening back down. Joseph's on the low line,
Mhm.
going at those speeds, 180 plus miles an hour, and
They hit.
makes contact, almost T-bones. He got T-boned
Yeah.
basically by Foster's out of control car, launching Joseph into the air,
Mhm.
almost
Upside down.
flipping over
The
into
wall
the
into the
pit wall
pits. Yeah.
barrier. And he was ended up skidding upside down in
Yeah.
a very scary crash. Uh, oh my God, again, the Penske luck. If they had, what was it?
If they didn't have bad luck, they would have no luck at all.
Joseph's another one who's had the worst luck this season. I just think Penske is cursed at this point.
Yeah, I don't
I
think it's their
think they've
season.
rid some of the problems, uh, and hopefully, this is the cleansing process. You gotta go through these hard times in order, to see that promised land. But Joseph, who had won here 5 times before, was looking so good,
Yeah, very
and then that
promising.
serious, serious crash. Thank God that he and both Louis Foster walked away from that. Joseph didn't comment after leaving the medical tent as he was in frustration and obviously probably hurting pretty good. So leading the race, Sid, we had David Malukas
Yeah,
for some time, right?
67 laps.
During these times as well, who was also up there running at the top?
Yeah, and there was even drama as cars were coming and leaving the pits during the Joseph Newgard in yellow.
Mhm.
Um as David Malukas was currently sitting in first and Scott McLaughlin in second, but they both got penalties and needed to yield 3 positions back for improper lane usages.
So they left the pits and got into that top lane.
Mhm.
Both of them got penalties. That was a real congested
It
pit
was.
box area. All the cars came in under that yellow, and it was Connor Daly who ended up coming out of that in the lead, and he ended up leading this race for
Yeah.
36 laps, and he was looking very good. We're thinking, oh my gosh, to start the race, David Malukas leading for
Mhm.
60 plus laps. He looked great. Then you had those Penske cars who all led. I believe, I don't think Will led, but Joseph led for a chunk before his incident, and then Scotty's making a run. He gets to second. He led laps as well.
Mhm.
Has to serve that 3-spot penalty as they go back to green, and that put him into fifth. And then more drama unfolds.
Yeah, so at this point, Connor Daly and Scott McLaughlin were both like leading this race, and then at lap 195, the next yellow came out, and it was because David Malukas made contact with the wall in turn 4 that caused another yellow.
It brought out the yellow. It didn't
Yeah.
affect his car as he
Mhm.
stayed in on track. Um, but then on the restart,
Yeah, during that restart, him and VK like bumped each other, so that pushed him back, and so he ended up finishing 12th.
yeah. So what a promising day for David Malukas. Um, leading to start this race, had a very good car, penalty, and then another yellow that which he caused.
Mhm.
Again, no damage to his car. Was able to stay out there. I think he was in seventh, and then the contact with VK, and then his day was basically done um, for David. So Connor Daly, Scott McLaughlin, both going back and forth. Pato O'Ward and Kyle Kirkwood also making their way up the field. And then Scott McLaughlin comes into the pits, and what do you know? The Penske hat trick trifecta is complete. Engine mechanic failure,
Yeah.
and his day is done.
Yeah, and it was the first race since like 1994 where one team, all their drivers DNF in one race.
Yeah, so Penske has cars that finished 24th, 26th, and
Mhm.
27th this weekend. What a horrible ending to what was such a promising weekend. And you know, once I don't know what's going to happen with these
I don't
guys.
either.
Something's going to have to happen. I think it could be this weekend coming up again. I'm still strong on my Penske beliefs. But this is where the good story unfolds. This is where the racing started. Sid, let's go back to earlier in the race. I think it was one of the first pit stops. I didn't see it as I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
see the beginning of the race. What happened with Christian Rasmussen?
Yeah, so actually as he came into pit and as he was leaving, you can see that his car's on fire. Like the back of his engine's on fire. And when he like did an interview reviewing it, he said he had no idea it was on fire and that he just heard it from the radio. Um
So his car's on fire as he's leaving the pits, and it put itself
yeah,
out, right? Did he have to serve a penalty, or where was he at this time? He started the race where
25th.
25th.
So I think he was towards the back of the field when this happened.
So yeah, it was still quite early. It
Yeah.
was one of the first few pits. So that's where this drama starts to unfold.
Mhm.
Connor Daly starts losing his momentum as he doesn't have the lead anymore. He's overtaken by Kyle Kirkwood, who's moved his way through the field in
Yeah.
an awesome race for Team Andretti. Kyle having won the previous week in Detroit.
Yeah.
Could he be winning his third race of the
I
season?
didn't see it coming.
No, not in an oval. I didn't expect it at
Yeah.
all. But the way everybody was dropping out on the Penske's, who were the dominant ones,
Yeah.
Kyle Kirkwood in the lead. Christian Rasmussen is racing up through the field. Pato O'Ward
Yeah, and at one point too, Ilott was in it to win.
towards the end of the race. Yes, Callum Ilott. But that's a little bit later on. But so you had that neck and neck battle going on. Kyle Kirkwood trying to get through these guys. He's leading. Pato O'Ward's tailing behind. You had Christian Rasmussen again up there. Connor Daly. Those were your main four guys towards the end of this race. Felix Rosenquist ended up leading as well, and he was in a position based on fuel that the broadcasters on Fox thought that maybe he had enough fuel and had the best overtakes during that race where he was in a position to go the remainder of the distance without, having to pit again. Unfortunately, he left and had to fuel up, with 10 or 12 laps or something like that to go. And then Callum Ilott was sitting right behind him. Callum Ilott led a lap or two in this race as well. He had the same situation happen. I think he had to end up leaving probably around the fourth or fifth lap to go. Meanwhile, your Chip Ganassi drivers were back towards the bottom mid of the field on the lead lap. Alex Palou, your race leading champion right now in this series, he ended up finishing eighth, right? So not a great finish for Alex, but he was still in a top 10 position. Scott Dixon
P4
ended up P4. He moved his way through the field as well.
Yeah, so once Ilott had retired, Kyle Kirkwood was sitting P1, and he had the strength and he had what it took to hold off the surge from Pato and Rasmussen and was able to win it.
Yeah, so Kyle Kirkwood goes back-to-back.
First
oval win. There's been 8 races so far this season, 5 won by Alex Palou, and now 3 by Kyle Kirkwood. This is the first time since 1980 in which the first 8 races of the season have been won by only 2 drivers. Yeah, it's been a really crazy season so far. And now if we look at podium, Pato finishing second, and Christian Rasmussen,
his first podium ever,
finishing third, and he almost another turn or a half a lap to go. I think he had Pato.
Yeah.
He was right behind Pato, and that was a close second, third finish for those two guys. Now, if you look at the standings, Pato O'Ward is sitting in second place, only 73 points behind Alex now. Pato, that's his, 30th?
30th career podium in this season, yeah.
Yeah. And how many does he have this season?
4.
So 4 podiums this season. Without a win, he's still sitting in second place, less than 75 points down. Kyle Kirkwood is sitting in third in the standings right now. Only 75 down. So it's really down to those 3 drivers. Kyle Kirkwood, having the most success. Pato with still needing that win. It's just eluding him. It's going to come at some point, right? Do you think Road America is a good course for him?
I don't know. I don't know the last time that an aero car has won there.
Right.
So I think that would be a fun race.
Yeah.
For him to win.
So now we're moving into Road America, which is taking place this weekend. We saw practices today. A lot of notable names again, leading the way. But at the end of the day, your P1 lap leader was Kyle Kirkwood. Everything is going his way right now. And this is actually, let's just say he finishes again in a podium, maybe not winning, and Alex finishes
top 10,
10, 12. Another chunk of points. This could be interesting. We've got 9 races left in the season.
Yeah.
We're at the halfway point. This blowout, which we thought was going to happen is starting to dwindle. It's still a chunk of points that Alex leads over the two, but as you've seen, he is human after all. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah, but no, I don't think we really need to worry about Alex because he's in a comfortable um position right now and he knows how to win the championship. He knows how to lead a race, so I don't think we have anything to worry about.
yeah, okay. He's
Um
won at Road America
yeah, he's won
twice
there
before.
twice. And DraftKings picks actually have him favored to win this race.
Yeah, DraftKings Sportsbook has Alex um like at a 3-2 odds as the betting favorite to win this race. But then they have Newgarden and McLaughlin up there as well. Kyle Kirkwood's your fifth best betting option. Pato Award and Will Power follow right behind. Any long shots? I'm looking at these odds right now. I think maybe a Rosenquist or a Marcus Armstrong might be I could take a flyer on them, 30 or 40 to 1 odds. You
Yeah.
know, you put $5 on that on a Rosenquist at 40 to 1, you'd win $50.
Yeah.
Take a gamble. Let's go. Qualifying coming up tomorrow.
Mhm.
What do you expect to see? Who do you think is going to be at the top? Who's going to win pole?
Um I don't know. Well, I mean, I can say one thing's for sure. You're not going to have a repeat of your pole sitter from last year as of Linus Lundqvist is not racing currently.
Okay, so Linus Lundqvist won pole at
Yeah.
Road America last year. Linus Lundqvist. He almost was able to jump into Armstrong's car for a ride, I think, at the Indy 500. If Armstrong wasn't able,
Yeah.
he was almost on deck. He was
This
getting,
year, yeah.
the pine tar on the bat and getting the donut on, get ready to take some hacks. Um, Joseph's won multiple poles there before. Pato's won pole there before.
Colton's one pole there in
Yeah, Colton.
2023.
Yeah, Colton was very good there. Um, I'm
Massey
leaning.
as a pole there.
Yeah, I'm leaning to the Penske's again. I think, and I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. I've said it multiple times already. They were my pick as the champions this year, and at some point, I'm gonna be right when I say they're going to win a race or races. And I'll say Newgarden wins pole again. Um, but again, I don't know how is he going to race after his injury. I mean, not the injury, but the crash
Yeah.
last week. Willpower, is he balls to the wall? Does he have a chance for pole? It's all or nothing with him right now.
Yeah.
He needs a good result. So no winner has won from worse than 10th position though
So you kind of have like
over like the last 10 years, right?
a
I think
big
that's what they said
stability.
earlier.
So
So you want to finish towards the top. But that being said, as long as you're within the top 10 in the starting grid, you have a legitimate chance of winning
yeah.
this race. So we'll see how tomorrow plays out. Um, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I say Penske's are going to end up on podium. Multiple Penske's will end up on podium after Sunday afternoon. Sydney, do you have any surprises? Or are you going with Alex to win the race? You've been doing that a lot lately.
No, I think I'm gonna go with Pato. I think I think he's gonna get pole and win.
So
Um,
Pato gets pole and then he wins.
I think so. He's
Okay.
had a fast car, which has been proven in the whole season, really. And I'd like to see it like come true and like hit him win this
Okay.
season or
Okay.
this race.
I would love to see a Pato victory as well. How did you do on your grid rival picks? My
I
picks were spot on after qualifying. I had my picks done even before qualifying last week.
yeah.
I had those Penske's up there. I had Callum Ilott, who actually qualified well and was in a good points position
Yeah.
to end that race, until the very end. And then I also had David Malukas, and all those cars just cost me during the race. I was so disappointed. I dropped I don't even want to say like almost 1,000 spots in the standing. So I dropped from like 300 down to 1295 now. I can still make it up, and I'm not making any changes to my team. I have the same lineup as I did last week. I have Pato, David Malukas, Callum Ilott, and then Scotty Mack, Joseph Newgarden, and Will Power. That is my lineup. I'm sticking to it. Have you made any changes? Who do you have?
Yeah, I had to add 2 new drivers to my lineup. So I have Alex Pillow, Pato Award, Joseph Newgarden, David Malukas, who's my star, and then I also have Rasmussen and Foster.
Okay.
So
Louis Foster is qualified well,
yeah,
and he's actually having a pretty good season.
yeah,
You know,
one of the
not
highest.
not not the points where he would like, but I see a lot of promise in Louis
Mhm.
Foster, more so than I do either of the other two
Yeah,
drivers
yeah,
for
me too.
RLL, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so we'll see. Qualifying tomorrow, it's going to be exciting. Race on Sunday. Um, Sid, there was another point I wanted to bring up, and it's kind of caused a lot of controversy over the last couple of days, and that's when Nolan Siegel's onboard video came out. Uh,
Mhm.
the F bomb tirade, you know, tirade laced um, video came out, and what were your thoughts on that? To be, what exactly was he saying?
Um, Honestly, I don't know what my thoughts are on that. He was dropping a lot of f bombs. Mainly towards Penske. I don't know.
Towards Penske and towards Scott McLaughlin
Yeah.
in particular.
Yeah.
Um, he was upset about. You could hear on radio. He was upset. He had so Arrow kind of messed up on their pit strategy with him and ended up putting Nolan a lap down. Scotty was leading the race, and Nolan was holding him up. And I think was he penalized or
Yeah, he had to do a drive through.
he had to do a drive through for basically blocking because he was a lap down. He wasn't on that lead lap. And you could just hear it on the radio, his frustrations.
Yeah, he wasn't happy.
He wasn't happy at all. Um, I don't mind the cussing, the cursing. I speak like a sailor myself. I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's awesome to hear raw live video,
Yeah.
somebody in the moment. Um, but the way that it was directed, that's what I took offense to.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't pertain to me. And everybody on social media seemed to be like split down the middle. You were either on his
Or
side
you're not.
or
Yeah.
you're not. And I understand that Nolan is in a tough spot. He hasn't had a great season.
Mhm.
He's had multiple instances with
With
Penske
Penske.
cars this season. Lap 1, St. Pete with
Mhm.
Will Power. Detroit,
Detroit.
he's rear-ended by Scott
Mhm.
McLaughlin and then penalized, again for a Penske car
Yeah.
that he was, impeding the progress on. So I understand he's frustrated with that, not having a great season. He's got two superstars as teammates
Yeah.
that he's got to live up to those expectations to as well.
Yeah.
With Pato and Christian Lundgaard, he's still a young kid. I understand the emotion on
Yeah.
that point. But then I kind of broke it down being a baseball fan as well in the terms of, let's just say the batter swings and misses at strike 3, which is a ball that bounces in the dirt. And then he goes off and he starts cussing out the pitcher,
Mhm.
saying F you, Emmer Effer,
Yeah.
because he threw the ball in the dirt, even though you were the one that swung at it.
Mhm.
And then you start dropping F bombs at the umpire because he called you out
Yeah.
on the swing.
Yeah.
You know, at some point you have to take accountability yourself. Um, I hope you know he does better. Arrow apologized and made him
Mhm.
apologize as well on the statement. I understand when you're in the heat of the moment, you're in
Yeah.
the battle. I love hearing that. I wish we could hear it more, and I'm sure there's a lot of shit talking and trash talking
We don't hear.
that you don't hear. Are you in favor of hearing that more often?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind hearing it. I think just that, like, the analogy you made was perfect because you can't really get upset at someone else for the actions you've made and what you've caused. So
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but that would be rad if you can
I know.
listen, or
Listen to
I'll
more
pay
often.
$9.99 and get the uncensored Fox feed if I had to. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I can't listen to that many channels when you have a headset on when you're at a race trying to listen to the team's feeds.
Yeah.
Um, so they can break that down. That'd be awesome. Put a show on for that, like Hard Knocks, or a show that is uncensored and gives us the real drama. Because you got to
Yeah.
think these guys are dropping f-bombs throughout the
Oh,
race.
100%.
There's drivers that they don't like,
Yeah.
teams that they don't like, and then we're not throwing Nolan under the bus. Good kid. I hope the best for him. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what this weekend brings. A lot of fun in store. Sydney, awesome show tonight. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The last couple of weekends of racing has been
Been
very
intense.
exciting, intense.
Yeah.
The gloves are starting to come off.
Yeah.
We're getting rivalries. Are we going to see another winner? I think we will this weekend. I'm going with Penske, Joseph Newgarden to win the race. You're going with Pato.
Both
So,
going new people.
yeah, I think it's going to happen. Thank you all so much for listening again. This is Racelets Podcast. I'm Fred.
I'm Sydney.
You guys have a great night. Thank you so much.